Hey girl, Marissa here. You are listening to the Codependummy podcast. As a young woman, you have been raised, reinforced, and rewarded for putting the needs of others above your own. That is for being codependent. Now in your 20s, you're exhausted, exasperated, and enveloped in crap relationships, especially the one you have with yourself. This podcast is to help you undo all that so you can stop playing small and start taking up space, you dummy. Let's get to it. Welcome, everyone. It's Marissa Escobel. I am the hostess mostest of the Codependummy podcast. Wanted to pop in before today's episode to welcome all the new listeners. What is up? So glad to have you with us, and thank you for stopping by. For all the veterans who have been here since January 27th, we need to make room because recently we have had to welcome some new listeners. So thank you all for your support. Glad to have you with us. I'm excited for you to hear this episode, our fourth Codependummy dilemma, where I walk a brave listener through an area of their life where they are being a codependummy, and hopefully through live coaching with me, they can address it and be a codependiamond. Before I dive in with ND, I just want to acknowledge all of you listeners and thank you for being here. You, yes, you who is listening, no, I am not kidding. Thank you for listening. I do encourage you to go back and listen to all the episodes. Which listener who I'm about to walk through the Codependummy dilemma, he admitted to that, so thank him for his support. I sense that if you go back and listen, it will help you build awareness, insight, and consciousness around your codependency. You can also support the podcast by sharing your favorite episodes with a friend, following me on Instagram or TikTok. My handle is @therapywithmarissa. It's my practice page. I am a licensed therapist. Or you can leave a review. Recently, I've gotten some feedback about the cadence of my voice, which was very complimentary. Thank you. And I also got some honest feedback about all my mm-hms. Apparently, there are too many. So I appreciate all the feedback. Know that I read it, I consider it, and I want to be a better podcaster. So feel free to leave your feedback. Also, what is a codependummy? Well, I have been workshopping my own definition of codependency, so let's just work with that for now as we continue to endeavor on this adventure of codependency, building awareness with that. So, for me, codependency is a way of being where one prioritizes the thoughts, feelings, and needs of others above their own in an unconscious attempt to fulfill their own thoughts, feelings, and needs. Right? I've talked about this rule I had throughout my 20s where I said, I will be uncomfortable, so you will be comfortable. And unconsciously, I sensed that I hoped that eventually I would feel comfortable too. There are plenty of examples in recent episodes that I encourage you to check out where I really expand on that. All right, so now to the Codependummy dilemma. I do want to highlight, despite all my references to girl, baby girl, lady, and 20-somethings, listener ND, he is a man. He is a straight man. And you men, you straight men, you man, woman, elder, non-binary person, right? You are free to resonate with the podcast too. Anyone who resonates has full permission to resonate. many of us from all walks of life struggle with codependency. So I really just want to acknowledge ND for sticking with the podcast despite all my female-oriented content, for reaching out, and for volunteering to come on. Okay, let's please give him a hand before you even listen, because he had to go through so many, I'm assuming, internal obstacles and barriers to reach out to me. So thank him. Thank you, those who are listening who don't fit the 20-something female who I'm speaking to. You are welcome here. If you'd like to come on for the dilemma, please also stay tuned till the end of the episode to find out how. And now, without further ado, the Codependummy dilemma. Welcome, everyone, to the beloved segment, the Codependummy dilemma, where I walk a listener through a current area in their life where they are being a codependummy. This is not therapy, y'all. It's codependency coaching. And Nathan is here to add to whatever he's doing outside of this podcast interview, right? This is just a addition to what we're all doing week in and week out. Okay. So Nathan's here. Hello, Nathan.
Hi, Marissa. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on. And we are going to hear a little bit about you and your background, and then work through a dilemma.
Sounds
good. For us codependummies, I looked up the definition, Nathan, because I thought it sounded good. Codependummy dilemma. So for everyone, here's the definition, okay? A dilemma. A situation in which a difficult choice has to be made between two or more alternatives, especially equally undesirable ones. And before we were recording, I was sharing with Nathan how that is codependency. We just get into these corners where we have two alternatives, both sound awful, or we're disappointing someone or ourselves, and we're really trying to work through those and find other options. So this is for Nathan and also for all of you guys. So thank you, Nathan, for coming on.
Thank you.
All right. So first question, Nathan.
Mm-hmm.
How did you hear about the podcast?
So actually, I've been seeing a therapist on and off for a few years now. More so recently, and she actually is a big fan of your podcast, and she referred it to me. So I've been listening to it pretty much every single day, and I wanted to reach out and say thank you. And then that kind of led to me being on the podcast, which is so cool. It's really exciting.
Yeah. Well, thanks to your therapist, Nathan's therapist. Just keep sharing it. Okay. So you've been listening.
Mm-hmm.
It's been resonating. So thus, what are some ways, Nathan, that you were raised, reinforced, or rewarded to put the needs of others above your own?
So I guess it kind of starts with my childhood. And to preface all of this, I want to say I love my family so much. I wouldn't be where I am or who I am without them.
We love Nathan's family.
Yeah.
We love them.
No, they're great. But yeah, growing up, I just felt like they set a bar for me that I always had to hit, whether it was I would get 80s or 90s in school, and they wanted me to get 100, so I felt like I wasn't good enough, and so I had to try and do these things for them. And it wasn't so much that I was wanting to learn or wanting to do it for myself. I just wanted to make them happy. Mm-hmm. And when I would meet those bars, then they would have higher expectations of me, and that would go on throughout most of my childhood. And even with school and with teachers too, it was the same thing. And with friends, a lot of my friends growing up, a lot of them thought hey, Nathan's doing really well in school, so let's be friends with him so he can help us with school and stuff. And so I did that and tried to make them happy. And sometimes I did their homework or other stuff like that. And I slowly got out of that though. towards like junior high and high school, but I guess that's kind of where it all started. The needing of approval from these other people to make them happy,
Right.
and to meet their goals instead of doing what I really wanted to do or what made me happy. Because at the end of the day, like all we really want is love and acceptance, and I felt that that was the only way for me to get it at that point in my life.
There's so much in that short summary, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm hearing I was getting A's and 90s, and the bar was set higher, so not feeling good enough. And right, coming to this conclusion as a little boy, oh, maybe if I get that 100, right, the happiness, approval, love will come.
Yeah, exactly.
And it did.
Yeah, it did at certain times. But certain times, like, it wasn't good enough. Or my parents would be like, hey, why can't you be like this other family member of yours? Or why can't you be like this? And that really stuck with me. And even when I was younger too, I did deal with, or I did suffer from like stress eating and stuff like that, and a little bit of childhood obesity. So I really turned to food for comfort, or TV for comfort, because it was like my escape. Or it just gave me it just made me feel good at that time when I didn't get the love or get the want that I needed from the people that I looked up to.
Right.
So it was I didn't have the worst childhood in any means, but it was still tough at times. And I realized that it's affected me a lot more than I thought it did, especially now. So
yeah. So here you were, being raised, reinforced, and rewarded, right? Their needs for a academic son, successful son, right? Oh, that's being met. Your friends' needs for good grades, doing well in school. Oh, you're meeting that need. I'll do your homework.
Yeah.
Right? And your teacher's need for a cohesive, calm, engaged class. Like,
yeah.
There's Nathan raising his hand, prepared. Right? And that love and that approval, right? I'm sure your teachers, your parents, your friends, right? That's how you came to like these. I talk about like unconscious, a lot of codependency. We're not conscious. We're not like, oh, if I do this, then I'll get this. But over time, that is what we learn. You mentioned stress eating.
Yeah.
Right? So I ate when I was younger. I have shared about that. Corey Rosenthal had a great podcast. We had her on talking about food and codependency. So here you were trying to please others, not feeling like you were enough, and trying to feel enough potentially with food. And then, Nathan, you dealt with some childhood obesity, and you were definitely not enough.
Yeah. Like being told I was like fat a lot of the time from people I loved, people who I looked up to, people who I needed the comfort and support from. Like it was tough. And, I was like the biggest one in terms of the kids in my family, from aunts, uncles, cousins, like everyone, I was the biggest one. And it sucked. And it was tough to deal with. Even in class, sometimes I'd be the biggest one in the class. And it was pointed out a few times. And it really got to me. It really affected my self-image, my self-worth, my self-love. And I feel like I never really loved myself. I never knew how to, and I never thought about even loving. Yeah, I never thought about loving myself at all. And it's taken me 26 years. Like right now, like I'm 26, and it's fine. And this is the first year that I'm actually starting to love myself, to do things that are good for me, to accept who I am and be the person that I know I want to be. So it's definitely taken a while, and it's affected me so much, but But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. So I'm working so hard to be loved by others.
Mm-hmm.
That isn't guaranteed every time. I'm not measuring up every time. Comfort and support are so delicious when it comes in a sugary, salty, fatty snack. And then, right, the thing I'm doing to cope with the lack of love, the hurt, sadness, whatever comes when I don't get it, it's actually causing more hurt, more sadness, more like less love.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's so tough, and like love is the one thing that I always wanted. I always wanted to be accepted,
Mm-hmm.
to be loved, to be the person that, well, I lived my life wanting to be the person everyone wanted me to be, but I felt like I kept failing because I kept turning to food and I couldn't stop myself, and it was tough. And like all these bars that were being set up for me to achieve and to hit, like it was tough. And yeah, like I just tried to make everyone else happy. I was so dependent. Like my happiness was contingent on everyone else being happy with me or saying, hey Nathan, you did a good job.
Mm-hmm.
And even now, like even when I get compliments now, it's hard for me to take. I For a long time I couldn't even take a compliment. I brushed it off as it was nothing, or I downplayed it, or I just negated it completely. And whenever someone gave me a criticism, like I would take that to heart. Like it affected me 10 times more than it should have.
Right.
And like I just wanted the approval of pretty much everyone in my life. And I was so dependent on that.
Everyone.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. It's exhausting.
it is.
So you've hinted, right? 26, you are newly discovering self love.
Mhm.
But until recently, you were raised, reinforced, and rewarded to put the needs of others above your own. How did that leave you exhausted, exasperated, or enveloped in shit relationships as a young adult?
Yeah, so I guess it kind of started, or it kind of started with my first year of university. Um, I applied to go into accounting, and I only did that because I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do after high school. But my parents said, "Hey, you're kind of good at math. You should maybe go into accounting." And I thought business was a good field, so I was like, "Sure." And I did uh, decently well in accounting, and my parents were like, "Hey, not because you're good at that, you should pursue your CPA designation, which is like further education after university."
Mm-hmm.
And all my professors and all the other accounting students were doing the same thing, so I just like kind of went with the trend, and I did that even though I didn't really know if I wanted to do it or if I loved it. Accounting was something that I could do, but I wasn't extremely passionate about it. And so fast forward to when I graduated, I got an accounting job, and I was basically working um, that job for my parents. Like it wasn't my parents' job or anything, but I took that job on to make them proud, to make them happy,
Mm-hmm.
and to make everyone else happy too, because they were like, "Oh, Nathan got an accounting degree, like that means he should get an accounting job." And then I applied for the CPA program. I got in, and I studied, and I started doing that as well. And um, I didn't particularly enjoy the program. It
Mm-mm.
was a lot of stress. It was a lot of work, um, and I just I wasn't passionate about it. I didn't feel like it was for me, but I kept doing it because I felt the pressure from everyone else, including my coworkers and managers, that I should do it. I told them that I wanted to do it, and I felt like at the time that I wanted to move up in the company, and I wanted to be the accountant or maybe the CFO one day at that company. And I that just made me so unhappy, like being in the program, doing what I was doing, and everything else. Like it just made me so unhappy. even at the job that I was at the time, I was working to make everyone else happy, to make the CFO happy, to make the accountant happy, to make everyone else happy, make sure everything else is going okay, make sure all the numbers are balanced and everything. And it was tough. And fast forward to I'd say a year ago, with COVID and everything, like that just made everything worse. And I wasn't particularly treated well at my job. There was like a lot of name calling jokes that were made to me and a few other staff members, but it was well known that I got the worst of it. And
like what?
like I was called a few names. There were jokes made about my weight and stuff like that in the workplace, which wasn't great. And there were times when like all of the staff would get involved too, which just made it worse, especially when I wasn't having a great day. Like on my good days, it would be fine. It would be like I would be able to take it, and I thought of it like, hey, it's job security. You know, they wouldn't fire the guy they're making fun of, right? So, but on my bad days, it just made things worse, and I wanted it all to stop, and I wanted it to end. But I was staying with the job because I had the thought of like, you know, I need this job for the money. I need to keep going with the path that I'm on. Like I'm on it now. It's too late. Like at that point in my life, I was 25. I was like, you know, it's too late to do anything else. I have to do this. I have to stick with it.
My life is set at 25.
Exactly.
Everybody.
Oh, it's so crazy to think about now. But back then, like that was the mindset that I had, and I felt like if I left it, I would be letting my coworkers and the managers and everyone else down. I'd be letting my parents and my family down. I'd be letting my university profs and everyone who knew of what I was doing. I'd feel like I'd be letting them down, and I'd be an embarrassment. And it sucked. And I was dating someone at the time as well, and they knew what I was going through and everything. But I like this job paid decently well, and I wanted to be able to support myself and her whenever we go on dates or anything like that. Like I wanted to be able to afford that. And I also had
to make her happy.
Exactly. And I also like moved into a new condo too a year ago. So I had like a mortgage and like all these adult expenses. And so if I left this, like I don't know if I'd be able to afford it, and then I'd have to move back home, which is something I didn't really want to do. So I had all these things in my mind, and I was like, no, I have to do this. I'll just suffer through it. I'll make everyone else happy, even if it means me being unhappy. And I've had a lot of relationships in the past where I've done that. And I realize now that it's so wrong. And when with COVID and everything too, like working from home, being alone, and living alone, like it really gets to you. Like we're social beings. We're not meant for this. But and me being already so codependent as I already was, like it was tough. So in a matter of like a few months, I just felt like I was failing at everything in my life. And so I felt like I failed at my job because I wasn't happy, and I wasn't doing particularly, like I was doing well at my job, but I just felt like I wasn't happy at it. So I felt like I was failing in that way. My education, like I wasn't passionate about it, and I wasn't doing too well in that aspect. So I felt like I was failing at that. With COVID and everything, I lost touch with a lot of friends. So I felt like I failed as a friend, and I stopped reaching out and stopped even thinking about reaching out to them. I felt like my relationship with my parents started to deteriorate. So I felt like I wasn't a good enough son anymore. And eventually the girl I was dating with, we broke up, and I felt like I failed in that aspect as well. And so in a matter of like 6 months, I'd say, I felt like I failed in every aspect of my life. And it sucked. It was so tough. Ugh. And I hated it. And I felt like I let everyone down. I felt like I let my coworkers down, my family down, my friends down, everyone down. I felt like it was all my fault. And I was trying. It's not like I wasn't. Like I was legitimately trying to stay on the path that I thought everyone wanted me to be on.
Right.
But I just failed, and it was tough to deal with. It was tough to handle. I honestly was a codependummy.
Yeah. It's, it's like a loving insult to all of us, because it is. It's like, it's so silly. It's like,
Yeah.
no, Nathan, no, say no. Like, don't go, draw the boundary. Yeah, don't be a codependummy.
Yeah.
And right, I've talked about different rules I had as a young woman, and I will be uncomfortable, so you will be comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And you were like, I will be unhappy, so you will be happy. And there's a dot dot dot. We don't know it, but it's right on an unconscious level. We're like, and maybe, hopefully, if you're happy, I'll be happy too.
Exactly.
But that doesn't always happen.
No.
Our happiness does not come. And
Mm-hmm.
so here you are, 2 months post codependent rock bottom. And what's your new rule or slogan based off what wasn't working?
One of the, like, this is like a phrase that I've heard recently, and I've kind of like, it's kind of stuck with me. In order for two halves to be a whole, each half must be whole on its own. And that doesn't just apply to relationships, in my opinion. It applies to like everything. Like, you can't really love yourself, or you can't really love something else or someone else until you love yourself. You can't really know what you, or you shouldn't be living your life for other people. You should be living it for yourself. So that's kind of stuck with me a lot.
You are a
And
whole half.
exactly. And trying to be.
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't been easy, and like, they're like, still up until this point, like, I still have bad days, and but I also have good days as well. So it's all about getting through it, being positive, and just working on yourself, because
Right.
I do want to be a codependent diamond. I do.
Codependent diamond. We're just shining in all of our interdependency, relying on others, relying on ourselves, all shiny and new.
Yeah.
So speaking of codependent diamond, and you said I still have bad days. Hearing yourself, right, where the codependency started, how it really just, you've started to work through it within the past 2 months. What is an area in your life that you want to talk through today?
I guess my like, personal relationships and love, is the biggest thing, because especially I feel like I became so codependent with my last relationship, and it's not something that I've never been that codependent on a relationship before, but I just felt like, because I failed, or that I thought that I failed in every aspect of my life, I turned to that relationship. She like, had to make me happy,
Right.
or not had to make me happy, but I was looking for happiness from that relationship, from her. And when things were good, things were amazing. Like, I felt good, I felt validated, I felt good enough.
Whole.
Exactly. But when we got into an argument, or I wasn't able to see her, or anything like that, I felt like I wasn't good enough. I felt I felt alone. I felt my self-worth take a big hit.
Right.
And yeah, so that would be great to talk about. Yes.
Okay. So reflecting on the relationship, you are single now.
Yeah.
What's your current dilemma with personal relationships? Or what was one that you dealt with her that we could talk through? Like, kind of like narrowing it down to primary problem.
One of our issues was that I felt like we weren't seeing each other too much, or we weren't seeing each other enough. Sorry.
She thought
Yeah.
she thought it was too much.
Yeah, she didn't think it was too much. She had an extremely busy life. We saw each other once, maybe twice a week, and only really in the evenings. Um, and she was always there for me. And like when she supported me or gave me those words of affirmation or validation, like it made me feel great. And I wanted more of that because I felt that like I was such a failure, that I wasn't good enough. So I craved it more, and I became so codependent on her saying those things or being there for me and making me feel like I was good enough.
Right.
So I wanted to spend more than just like a few hours a week with her. And she told me like that she couldn't give me any more time because she was so busy. And
Right.
instead of listening to her, instead of listening to what she was saying, I just heard, I wasn't good enough to spend time with. I'm not good enough to make time for, and stuff like that.
So, a couple months ago, when you were with her, one undesirable option was to persist in spending more time and possibly losing her. Or the other option was to find other ways to fill yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that the latter was an option?
I did, but admittedly, like I didn't, like I just wanted more time with her because it was what I craved. At the time, it was something that I loved. Um, we were in love. It was a good, positive, healthy relationship. Um, except for the fact that I became so codependent. But
Right.
um, like it was great. I loved spending time with her, and I loved the fact that she was so supportive and like there for me in times when I needed her. And yeah, I could have done other things, but I felt like it wouldn't be good enough, or I wouldn't get um, enough happiness or joy or acceptance or love from it. So I just turned to that.
Right.
Turn to her. So like yeah, and going forward in my life, I realize that now, and I don't want that to happen in any of my future relationships.
Right.
Um,
So reflecting back, you're like, I knew consciously, I knew I had other options, but I craved the validation from her.
mhm.
And just, trying as best as you can. Maybe she had a talk with you and was like, Nathan, you're amazing. You're so handsome. You're adorable. I love spending time with you. You're so smart, right? She gives all the validation she says, but I have these boundaries around my time, and you really need to go and fill your time without me with positive things, right? Self-love, self-care. I'm the
Yeah.
self-love, self-care girlfriend. Maybe you got motivated for an hour, a day, a week to try something, but there was this doubt, right? You said it. You were like, I didn't know if that would actually give me what I was looking for. Say more about that doubt, right? There's this guaranteed craving being fulfilled with her, but it's limited. There's other options, but you hesitated.
Yeah, like there'd be times where I would work out at home for a little while, and like that felt good. But then after a while, I'd be like, you know what, it'd be so fun if we could do this together. Or like I
Mm-hmm.
just kept thinking about her all the time in every decision that I made or in everything that I did in my life. I'm like, it'd be more fun if we did these things together. Um, and even, or if I was to talk to friends and reach out to them, like I reached out to a couple of friends at the time. And yeah, it would be fun, like talking to them, or sometimes we hop on a Zoom call or something, or play a game online or something. And it would be fun for those few hours. But after that, like I would get tired of it, and I'm like, like I miss her. And we had this thing where like every night we would call each other and like tell each other about our day and everything like that. And every day I look forward to that call. It was something I did right before bed, and like I just loved hearing about her day, and I loved telling her about mine. And like I lived my life trying to make her happy and trying to like make her smile and laugh, because I really enjoyed that, and I felt good about myself, and I felt like, you know, I'm accepted, I'm loved if I made her happy,
Mm-hmm.
and if I made her smile. And yeah, like but even going back to the activities and stuff, like I felt like it was good for that amount of time, but it wasn't as good or as great or fulfilling as if I was to spend time with her doing anything else.
Right.
And I didn't feel validated or anything like that doing these things. I wanted the validation. I wanted at the time the validation and approval and love from her.
Right. So semi-consciously, you knew you had options,
Mm-hmm.
right? Persist in pushing for as much quality time with her as is possible, or try other things. You're like, okay, I know there are other things I could do. You said I would exercise, and then I think, oh, how fun it'd be to work out with her. Or I would talk to friends. I would connect virtually, schedule a call. And it was good for a time until it wasn't. And I wanted the validation I got from her, which, I mean, do your friends have this outpouring of love and admiration and affection when you talk to them?
Not as much. Like they
No,
definitely do. They definitely do, but not as much.
right? It's not the same.
Yeah, it's not the same.
And so just you would start to look at other options, right? Try and find ways to fulfill your needs on your own, and just always kind of just slowly went back to and focusing on and craving her.
Yeah. And honestly, honestly, part of it was COVID too, with things being locked down and closed.
Right.
Us up here in Calgary, we weren't allowed indoor social gatherings at all. And if you lived alone, then you could have two people in your bubble or cohort. So my girlfriend at the time, she was one of them.
So if anything, COVID compounded the codependency,
Absolutely.
right? Like it was there, it was present, and also like she was your bubble.
Yeah,
So she's like, Nathan, you need to spend time by yourself. I can't be with you every day. And you're like,
all
what?
my time is by myself. And it's like, it sucked.
It
But
did. It did. Okay. So I'm hearing that potentially in this relationship, the dilemma was fulfill myself and also cope with the physical and mental agony of not being around someone's human presence,
mm-hmm.
or persist in wanting to be codependent with her and just
Yeah.
want all her time. And that's, it's because of the pandemic and codependency, you opted for that. And I'm also hearing in the future, a potential dilemma could be that without a bubble compounding it, how do you work on choosing to self-validate as opposed to get it from a partner? How do you because that's what really stood out is her
Mm-hmm.
validation. You craved it.
Yeah.
How can you have a workout, schedule a call, take a bubble bath, other forms of self-care, eat a good meal, have a meaningful conversation with your parents. How can you do those things? Like, what would she say to you that you could practice and say to yourself, Nathan?
Like she was all about self-love and self-care, and she'd even sometimes just have like a date night for herself, and she would treat herself, do things that she loved to do. She even liked going away to a different city or town for a night or two to be like out in nature and just recalibrate and just let everything go and just be herself. And so I kind of want to do the same thing, um, not those exact things that she did, but kind of do things that make me happy.
But what did
And
she say to you? Right? It sounds like you know the options,
yeah,
Nathan. You know you could go to another city. You know you could take yourself on a date. But what do you need to hear from yourself? Right? What do you need to start practicing so that craving for validation is fulfilled? At least half half of it by you.
by knowing and telling myself that I am a good person, that I am worth it, that I am worth being loved, and I am loved, and I should accept who I am and the things that I've done, and I'm gonna get through it. Like everything is gonna be okay.
Mm-hmm.
and and just like work on myself a lot more and keep telling myself to be positive. um and yeah, just like messages and stuff like that, just to stay motivated, um and to know that I am good enough, that I am accepted, if by no one else, at least by myself. I accept myself and I love myself.
Right. So I picture you at the end of your single day and or when you start dating again, and you look forward to your call with yourself. You're like, oh, I get to talk to myself later. I get to tell myself about my day, right?
Yeah.
And you get on that call. I don't know if it's a voice memo, if it's, I don't know if we can actually call ourselves. I think we can leave ourselves voicemails depending on our plan.
Yeah.
Or you could just be like, Marissa, that's weird. I'm just going to
No.
think in my head. I have texted myself. I will text myself sometimes. And so, Nathan, what would that be like between now and the next relationship to create a nightly routine where you have that call that you so looked forward to between you and you? And you say, oh, I did this today and I did that. And oh, Nathan, you're working so hard. You're doing so much. You did that workout. You made those plans. You deserve this, Nathan. You're doing so good. I accept you for what you've been through. You are doing great at work. And that, Marissa, she just really appreciates that you went on the podcast. That was so fun, self. Oh man, we reached out and we got on. Like, what would that be like to have that call for the next month with yourself?
It'd be great. And I would say pretty much exactly what you said. I'm kind of doing that now, where I'm journaling and like keeping track of all the good things that happen to me every day, and just remembering it, especially on my days where I'm not feeling so great, or when I'm down.
Mm-hmm.
I look back and I'm like, oh yeah, I did this. This is something good that happened to me. I felt good about myself when I did this, and just remembering that feeling and remembering all these good things that I've done. Like I'm doing it for myself. I'm not doing it for someone else. I'm not doing it to make someone else happy or to live my life for someone else. I'm doing it for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really great and reaffirming, for sure. So yeah, that's what it would be like, and that's what I want to work on,
Right.
because I definitely don't want to be codependent in my relationship, or too codependent in my future relationships or anything like that.
Right. And nothing pours gasoline on a raging codependent fire like a girlfriend or a boyfriend or they friend. They can just come and they just, all the progress, it's like we have a desk full of progress and they just like just wipe it. Yeah, there goes all my progress. Yeah. So you're already journaling.
Mm-hmm.
You were already writing down good things that you did that you're proud of. Are you validating yourself? Are you giving those compliments, that praise, that love, that that validation like you so craved? Are you just noting what was good? Are you saying you are amazing?
It varies from day to day. I'll be honest. So some days I'm like, yeah, that was great. Like I should feel good about this.
I should, or I do.
Or I do. But there are other days where I just write something good that I did down, but it doesn't affect me at all. I'm like, oh, whatever. Like this, it is what it is. So like it varies from day to day, but I'm definitely trying to validate myself and to validate everything that I do. I want to live my life for me and not for anyone else.
Right. Okay, so you're already journaling.
Mm-hmm.
And also hearing the dilemma. Right now, it sounds like the dilemma is, do I seek validation from my partner or myself? That's what, because when you spent time with her, that's what you got from her.
Mm-hmm.
And sounds like you're writing stuff down. You are making note of good things, moments you're proud of. But the other side of that dilemma, do I validate myself? Nathan, I really need you to go overboard on that, right? It's not just, oh, this went well, whatever. It's like Marissa said, I need to really work on validating myself. So, oh, whatever. And then also, good job, Nathan. You're doing so well. You're such a badass. Fucking nailed it. Just keep on keeping on, brother. And then you go, thank you, self. Right?
Yeah.
Like it just sounds like, in addition to, like, you're already doing it, right? You are, Nathan, you are already doing it. And at the same time, really, really, like, what you needed from her was that validation. And so, being able to be cheesy and overboard. Is it a voice memo? Is it a voicemail? Like, how can you pretend or, have a call with yourself, like saying it aloud, just trying to mimic everything about that call that you loved so much.
Yeah, like the voice memo thing is actually a really good idea. I should and will do that. No, not should. I will do that.
Cut yourself. Good job.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's mid-June. So between mid-June and mid-July, every night you are going to look so forward to your call with yourself.
Yeah.
You're going to say,
absolutely.
Hey, Nathan, tell yourself about your day and write the good things that happened. And then there's the recipient, receiver, right? Validating part of you, not a girl, saying, that's amazing, good job, keep it up.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's practice. One
Okay.
call.
Okay.
It's 6 p.m. where you're at.
Yeah.
Where are you gonna have these calls, do you think? Like at your desk, laying in bed? Where did you have them with her?
Yeah, in my bed.
Okay. All right. So pretend you're laying in bed
Okay.
and just go for it.
Yeah, I'd be like, hey Nathan, tell me about your day. And I would go on to say, like, for today, for example, today was a really great day at work. I got a lot done. You know, your boss was really proud of you for getting all the files done, and and how you answered all those calls and really helped the company. That's huge. You should feel great about that. Like, you've only been here for 2 months, and they've already given you so much responsibility. They're already talking about future plans with you and stuff like that. Like, you should feel great. They're already having you conduct meetings and stuff like that. So you should feel very proud of yourself. Like, if not, I am proud of you. That is amazing. You also had a few friends reach out to you today that were feeling so great, and they felt comfortable enough to talk to you about it. So you should feel great and amazing about that. The fact that you have created a good relationship with these people, and you made them feel comfortable enough to talk to you about what's going on in their lives. You know, and then you came home and you did this amazing podcast, which has changed your life, and the way you're gonna have all your relationships with in the future. Like, you should feel great about that, and you know that everyone listening, like, it'll probably help them too, and that feels amazing. That feels so good, because you know that you love to help people. And tonight you're going to go for a nice walk, have another call with a friend, and then you're going to go to bed and get some sleep, because you haven't had a good night's sleep since September, up until the past month, I'd say. So you should feel great about that. I feel great about it, and I love you, and you should love yourself. You're an amazing person. You're a good person, and I accept you for who you are and everything that you do. Your life is worth living. You have a lot to live for, and you have a lot of great people in your life who love you and support you. Like, yeah, you made mistakes before, but let's forget about that. Let's focus on the future. Focus on you. You know, you should really love yourself, because I love you. And yeah, I guess that's how the call would go. Something along those lines.
How do you feel?
I feel great. That felt really good. That was a great idea. Thank you, Marissa. I'm
You're
going to
welcome.
definitely do that.
I'll do it too. And for all the listeners, this is your challenge: 30-day self-validation voice memos.
Yeah.
I too, I had an ex, I was codependent with him, and my days didn't happen, Nathan, if we didn't talk.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know why I got out of bed if I wasn't able to report to him all the good things I'd done.
Yeah.
So,
like, I get it.
yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much. And I'm going to check in with you mid-July, see how it's going.
Yeah.
I commit to doing this. We're using the podcast, everyone, to get better. And we will stay in touch.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. This has been awesome.
Thank you, Nathan. Episode 26, that is a wrap. Thank you, ND, for coming on. And here's your challenge. Baby girl, baby boy, Codependummy listener. The 30 Days of Self-Validation Challenge. Join ND and I, where you write a journal entry, create a voice memo, or leave yourself a message at the end of your day, or whenever. And just be sure to validate all your efforts. Document the good, the bad, and then validate yourself. Be sure to email Marissa at codependiamond.com with an update at the end of your 30-day challenge so I can share it with ND and fellow listeners. Also, email me, Marissa at codependiamond.com if you'd like to come on the Codependummy Dilemma segment. Yes. Check out codependiamond.com for resources. Sign up for my free course. You can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Therapy with Marissa. It's my practice page. And remember, if you are feeling unseen, I see you. If you are feeling unheard, I hear you. And if you think that you don't matter, know that you matter to me. Till next time, I want you to get out there so you can stop playing small and start taking up space, you dummy.
You're still here? Just kidding. Girl, this is not therapy and I'm not your therapist, okay? This podcast is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information in regards to the subject matter covered. It is given with the understanding that neither the host, the publisher, or the guests are rendering any legal, clinical, or other professional information. If you want or need a professional, you should find one.